Many people believe that after turning 60, all it takes to stay strong and live longer is to keep repeating the same healthy habits they've trusted for decades. But what if I told you that some of those very habits might now be quietly working against you? This is the moment when the ground beneath what we thought we knew begins to shake. We've all been told to exercise harder, cut back on certain foods, or take more supplements. Yet I've seen friends who follow these routines religiously end up feeling weaker, more tired, or even struggling with new health challenges they never expected. It leaves us with a haunting question. Is it possible that the things we thought were helping us are actually holding us back? Wisdom beyond 60, dear everyone. When I look back on my own journey and the stories of people I've met along the way, I can't help but notice a common thread. The habits that served us well in our 30s or 40s don't always serve us in the same way after 60. Our bodies change, our needs evolve, and clinging to old formulas without reflection can sometimes do more harm than good. This truth can feel uncomfortable at first, but it is also liberating. Because once you see it, you realize that longevity after 60 is not about stubbornly holding on. It's about choosing wisely, adapting gently, and honoring the stage of life you're in. Let me ask you something directly. If I told you there are 5 so-called healthy habits that could be quietly draining your strength, would you want to know what they are? Wouldn't you feel a spark of curiosity to uncover what's really going on beneath the surface? I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll see these everyday choices in a completely different light. Some of them might surprise you. Some of them might even shock you. And yet, in that surprise lies the key to creating a life after 60 that feels more vibrant, more free, and more aligned with who you are today. That's why I invite you to stay with me until the very end of this journey. The truth you'll discover could change the way you think about your daily routine and maybe even add more quality years to your life. Before we dive deeper, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Your support is what gives us the energy to keep creating thoughtful, meaningful content for you and for everyone walking this path together. Now, let's pause for a small question, one that might spark reflection. Imagine this. Which do you believe is more dangerous after 60? A. Pushing your body beyond its limits because you think more is always better. B. Holding on to outdated habits simply because they once worked in the past. Comment A or B below. Your answer matters because sharing your perspective helps others reflect on their own choices too. And don't go anywhere because the most eye-opening part is coming next, where we uncover those 5 healthy habits that may secretly be working against you. This next part could be the most important lesson you hear all week. So, stay with me. So many of us have lived our lives believing that discipline and healthy habits are the golden keys to a long and fulfilling life. For decades, we were told to push harder, restrict more, and never let up. But here's the shocking truth I've discovered after 60. Some of those very habits, the ones we held on to so faithfully, may now be quietly turning against us. It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? Yet when I look at friends, neighbors, and even my own experiences, I see a pattern. People who cling tightly to routines that once served them well often find themselves exhausted, achy, or frustrated by results that no longer come. It's as if the body, once an obedient partner, has shifted its language, and the old rules no longer apply. This realization is both unsettling and freeing. Because it means longevity after 60 is not about doing more of the same. It is about listening closely, adjusting wisely, and finding balance in ways that match the body and spirit we carry today. Think about it. The way we cared for ourselves at 30 or 40 doesn't necessarily fit the needs of a body in its 60s or 70s. Holding on to yesterday's rules can blind us to today's truth. And that truth is this: what really matters now is not effort for the sake of effort, but choosing what nurtures us, what sustains us, and what brings us peace of mind. Let me put it another way. Imagine believing that extra miles of running every morning will guarantee vitality, only to find that your joints ache for days, or cutting out entire food groups to stay lean, only to feel weaker and more forgetful. or filling your medicine cabinet with bottles of supplements without truly knowing what your body needs. These are real stories I've witnessed, and they have taught me that not everything labeled healthy is actually helpful once we cross the threshold of 60. What once felt like protection can, in time, become a hidden burden. And that is why we need to rethink, to pause, and to choose differently. Wisdom beyond 60, dear everyone. I share this with you not to frighten, but to awaken. Because if you're here with me, it means you care deeply about living not just longer, but better. And the key to longevity after 60 is not blind routine. It is conscious adaptation. It is courage to let go of what no longer fits and the grace to welcome what truly serves your life today. So let me ask you directly. If you learned that 5 everyday habits you thought were keeping you strong might actually be doing the opposite, would you want to know which ones they are? That curiosity, that willingness to question could be the very spark that transforms the years ahead. Stay with me, because in just a moment, we're going to uncover them one by one. And trust me, what you'll hear may surprise you, may even challenge what you've believed for years. But in that challenge lies freedom, the freedom to choose differently and to embrace a life after 60 that feels lighter, healthier, and far more joyful. Don't go anywhere, because the most important and eye-opening part is coming next, and it just might change the way you see your future. When I look at the bigger picture of aging, what strikes me most is how universal the patterns are, no matter where you live. In places like Okinawa, where so many people live past 100, the secret has never been about following a strict diet book or pushing themselves through punishing exercise. Instead, it is about balance, community, and habits that fit their stage of life. They wake up with a purpose, they share meals with others, and they move their bodies in ways that feel natural, not forced. Now compare that with many people in our culture who, after 60, cling to rigid routines that once worked but now leave them tired and discouraged. The lesson here is profound. Longevity after 60 is less about holding on to the past and more about aligning your daily life with what your body and spirit truly need in this season. I've spoken with older friends in different parts of the world, and I hear the same message in their stories. A man in his late 70s in California told me he stopped trying to run marathons, not because he gave up on himself, but because he found more joy and energy in daily walks with his wife. A woman in her 80s from Florida said she used to diet endlessly, thinking it was the key to health, but she eventually learned that sharing a balanced meal with her family gave her more strength and happiness than restriction ever could. These are not stories of weakness. They are stories of wisdom. They remind us that the true secret of living longer is living smarter, with awareness and with heart. What connects all these examples is a shift in perspective. Longevity after 60 is not about fighting against time. It's about flowing with it, adjusting gracefully, and making choices that honor who you are today. It is about replacing unnecessary pressure with gentleness, replacing isolation with connection, and replacing outdated rules with conscious decisions. The science agrees with this too. Researchers studying communities where people thrive into their 80s and 90s consistently find that it isn't extreme diets or exhausting routines that matter most. It is small, thoughtful adjustments, day after day, that keep people strong, independent, and fulfilled. And here's something I've noticed personally. When you free yourself from the belief that more is always better, you suddenly find space for things that truly nourish you. Time with loved ones, meaningful activities, laughter, and rest. This is where real strength comes from. It is not just about the body, but also the heart and the mind. Once we understand that, the years after 60 no longer feel like a slow decline, but like an opportunity to live differently, perhaps even better than before. I want you to reflect on this with me. Are the habits you carry today giving you energy or quietly draining it away? That one question might change the way you approach tomorrow morning. And please, don't step away yet, because in the next part, we will go even deeper into the practical steps you can take to reshape your daily routine. This is where the conversation becomes truly powerful, and I promise it's something you won't want to miss. Now that we've uncovered the truth, that not all so-called healthy habits serve us well after 60, the natural question is what to do instead. The answer is not to abandon discipline or self-care, but to refine it, to shape it into something that supports the body we live in today. I've come to believe that real longevity after 60 is less about piling on more routines and more about choosing carefully, cutting away what no longer serves us, and leaning into practices that bring balance and peace. Take movement, for example. It doesn't need to be about pushing limits or testing endurance. I've seen the glow on a neighbor's face after her daily walks through the park, gentle but consistent. Her knees can no longer handle running, yet she has found a rhythm that strengthens her without straining her. That is the kind of adjustment that makes all the difference. Listening to the body, finding what feels right, and honoring that. The same is true with food. Dieting in extremes might have been a trend decades ago, but now it can strip the body of what it needs most. At this stage, eating becomes about nourishment, not deprivation. I know a man in his late 60s who once prided himself on strict diets, but he told me he feels better today when he enjoys balanced meals with vegetables, lean proteins, and yes, even a little bread at dinner. He eats with joy, and that joy itself is part of his health. Supplements and pills are another area where less can be more. It is tempting to reach for every new product on the shelf, believing it will grant vitality. But wisdom teaches us that the body thrives when it receives only what it truly needs. Instead of filling the cabinet with dozens of bottles, focusing on wholesome meals, hydration, and proper rest may often deliver what we've been searching for all along. Even sleep, something so natural, requires rethinking. Oversleeping can leave us sluggish, while a steady routine of restful, moderate sleep can restore clarity and energy. It's not about how many hours we log, but about how deeply we rest and how refreshed we feel when we rise. This shift in mindset turns sleep from an escape into a tool for renewal. And perhaps most overlooked of all is the habit of doing everything alone. Independence is valuable, but isolation can be draining. I've seen friends come alive again simply by asking for help, sharing tasks, or spending more time with family and community. Strength after 60 is not in proving we can handle it all, but in knowing when to lean on others and when to open ourselves to connection. These small adjustments are the real solutions. They don't demand perfection or extremes. They ask only for awareness, compassion for ourselves, and the courage to change course when needed. This is how longevity after 60 becomes a reality, by choosing practices that respect who we are now, not who we were decades ago. And don't step away yet, because the next part is where it all comes together. We'll talk about the deeper meaning behind these changes, how they shape not just our health, but the quality of the life we live every single day. Stay with me, because the most important insight is still to come. As we reach this final part, I want to bring everything back to the heart of the message. Longevity after 60 is not about chasing perfection or holding on desperately to routines that no longer serve us. It is about cultivating a way of living that feels true to who we are today. The habits that once defined our strength in our younger years do not have to define our strength now. Instead, we have the chance to write a new chapter, one where health is measured not only by numbers on a chart, but by the quality of our days, the peace in our hearts, and the joy we find in the moments we live. Think about what it means to live longer, not just in years, but in richness. It is not about surviving. It is about thriving. I have seen people in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s who seem more alive than ever before. Not because they followed every rule perfectly, but because they dared to let go of what was weighing them down. They discovered that true vitality comes from alignment, choosing food that nourishes, movement that strengthens without strain, rest that restores, and relationships that uplift. These are not dramatic changes. They are gentle shifts, but they have the power to transform life in ways that statistics alone can never explain. I believe the greatest gift we can give ourselves at this stage is compassion. Compassion to forgive the body for slowing down, compassion to honor the wisdom we've earned, and compassion to say yes to the things that bring us meaning. When we look at life through this lens, every day becomes a choice, and every choice becomes an act of creating the future we desire. Longevity after 60 is not a distant dream. It is here, waiting in the decisions we make the moment we wake up in the morning. So I want to ask you, what will you choose? Will you keep repeating habits simply because they are familiar? Or will you take the courageous step of choosing what truly serves your life now? This is where the journey becomes personal, and this is where transformation begins. Your health, your energy, your joy, they are not set in stone. They can be shaped, they can be renewed, and they can flourish in ways you might not have thought possible. As we close this part, I encourage you to carry this thought with you. Your future is not written by age alone. It is written by the choices you make today. Stay with me, because in what comes next, we will go even deeper into how to live those choices out in practical, meaningful ways. That is where the real power lies, and I promise it will be worth every moment you spend here. Don't go anywhere, because the most important and inspiring insight is just ahead, and it may be the key that changes the way you live the rest of your life. There comes a point in life when we realize that longevity after 60 is not measured by how much we can endure, but by how gracefully we adapt. The deeper meaning behind these years is not simply about avoiding decline, but about embracing growth in a different form. Too often, aging is framed as loss of energy, loss of independence, loss of purpose. But what if we chose to see it instead as a shift, a passage into a stage of life where wisdom can guide us more than willpower, and where meaning can matter more than speed? When I look at people who seem to flourish in their later years, I see a pattern. They stop chasing what no longer fits them and start building lives that truly align with who they have become. This stage of life is not about fighting against change. It is about leaning into it. Our bodies ask for gentler care, our hearts ask for deeper connection, and our minds crave peace. That is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the body's way of telling us what matters most now. When I see a grandmother playing with her grandchildren in the garden, or a retired man tending his plants with quiet joy, I see strength in its purest form, not in numbers lifted or miles run, but in presence, laughter, and contentment. This is where longevity after 60 gains its true meaning, in choosing to value quality of life above the illusion of doing it all. Science has its findings, yes, but lived experience speaks louder. People who thrive into their 70s and 80s are not necessarily those who had the most rigid routines. They are the ones who discovered balance, who honored rest as much as activity, who welcomed companionship instead of isolation, and who chose foods, movements, and habits that nourished them without draining them. The lesson is clear. Health after 60 is not a single formula to be forced. It is a personal journey of aligning choices with the unique needs of this season of life. And there is a beauty here, one that I believe too few people talk about. These years can carry a freedom that youth often lacks, the freedom to prioritize joy, to release perfection, and to live with intention. When you recognize that longevity is shaped by the simple decisions of each day, you begin to feel empowered rather than fearful. You see that your life ahead can be lighter, not heavier. You realize that age does not have to be a cage. It can be an opening into a wiser, more fulfilling way of being. So I ask you to hold on to this truth. Your 60s and beyond can be the richest years of your life if you allow yourself to adapt, to let go of the habits that no longer serve you, and to welcome new rhythms that do. This is not just about adding years. It is about adding life to the years you have. Stay with me, because in the next part, we will go even deeper into how to apply these insights every single day. That next step may be the one that helps you transform not only how long you live, but how deeply you truly live. One of the greatest discoveries I have made about life after 60 is that health and longevity are no longer only about the body. They are about the spirit that carries us, the meaning we assign to our days, and the connections that remind us we are not alone. It is easy to think that the key to living longer is found in routines or diets, but in truth, it is often found in how we relate to ourselves and to others. A person who wakes up with no sense of purpose may live in the shadow of each day, while someone who finds joy in the simplest rituals, watering the plants, cooking a meal, calling a friend, often shines with an energy that feels ageless. This shift in perspective is what transforms longevity after 60 from a number on a calendar into a life that feels worth living. I have seen people who believed they were losing everything with age, only to discover that they were actually gaining something more valuable: clarity. Clarity about what matters and what does not. They realized that many of the things they once worried about, career status, financial competition, or outward appearances, no longer held power over them. In their place came deeper questions. How do I spend the time I have left? How do I love the people around me better? How do I care for myself in a way that feels kind and sustainable? These questions become the compass that guides a meaningful and longer life. What makes this stage unique is that the race is over. There is no more need to prove to the world who we are. Instead, there is freedom to be fully present, to live intentionally, and to create days that reflect the truth of who we have become. And here is where health finds its strongest ally: peace of mind. Stress, regret, and constant pressure can wear a person down far more quickly than age itself. But when someone chooses acceptance, gratitude, and connection, their body often responds with renewed strength. The science of aging shows us that mindset shapes health as much as physical care does. But beyond science, real stories from real people reveal that joy and calm often keep them standing tall when others expect them to fall. So if you are listening now, I encourage you to think of longevity after 60 as more than just surviving. Think of it as a chance to live in alignment with your truest values, to release the weight of unnecessary habits, and to embrace what genuinely feeds your soul. This is not about giving up. It is about gaining a new way of being. Every day becomes a fresh opportunity to choose peace over stress, kindness over criticism, and presence over distraction. These choices shape not only how long we live, but how deeply we experience each moment. Stay with me, because in the next part, we will bring everything together and talk about the most powerful step you can take to ensure that the years ahead are not only longer, but brighter, lighter, and more meaningful. This may be the most important part yet, and I promise you will not want to miss it. After walking with you through this journey, I want to leave you with one powerful truth. Life after 60 is not the end of the road, but a new chapter filled with opportunities to live with more clarity, purpose, and peace. Too often we have been told that aging means slowing down, losing strength, or being left behind. But when I listen to the voices of those who are thriving in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s, I hear a different story. They talk about the freedom that comes with letting go of what no longer serves them, about the joy of simple moments, and about the strength that comes not from pushing harder, but from living wiser. Longevity after 60 is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about choosing the things that keep you energized, connected, and fulfilled. As we've seen, some habits we thought were helping us can actually drain our energy. Exercising too hard, restricting food too much, or trying to handle everything alone can leave us weaker, not stronger. The real solution is gentle, practical, and surprisingly simple. Move your body in ways that bring you joy. Maybe it's a walk in the park, light stretching, or dancing in your living room. Nourish yourself with balanced meals instead of extreme diets. And remember that sharing food with family or friends adds emotional nourishment too. Sleep enough to feel refreshed, but don't hide away in bed all day. And most importantly, lean into connection. Spend time with loved ones, share your thoughts, and allow others to help you when you need it. These small adjustments can open the door to a richer and longer life. The lesson is that after 60, health is not just about the body, it is about the heart and mind as well. Choose peace over pressure, joy over worry, and presence over distraction. Make each day a chance to create moments that matter. Longevity is not a distant dream reserved for a lucky few. It is something you can shape through the choices you make each day. When you treat yourself with kindness, when you adapt instead of resist, and when you find purpose in the little things, you are already adding life to your years. My encouragement for you is this: don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid to let go of habits that no longer fit the person you are today. Instead, embrace the wisdom you've gained and let it guide you toward a lifestyle that keeps you strong, lighthearted, and at peace. Life after 60 can be the most rewarding stage yet, not because you are proving yourself to the world, but because you are finally free to live in a way that feels true to you. Now, I would love to hear from you. Which do you believe matters more for longevity after 60? A, choosing lighter, more joyful activities each day, or B, holding on to strict routines because they once worked in the past? Please share your answer in the comments so we can all learn from each other's experiences. And before you go, if this message touched you, I kindly ask you to support this channel. If you found these words meaningful, please subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments, and share this video with your friends so more people can benefit. We read every comment, and your feedback inspires us to create the best content we can for you. Let us continue this journey together, side by side, here at Beyond 60 Wisdom. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and thank you for allowing us to be part of your life. Your presence gives us the strength to keep making videos that matter. Stay with us, because together we can make the years after 60 not only longer, but brighter and more fulfilling.